What's up, guys? So I was in a Jubilee video and I can't wait to react to this because honestly the whole process was really interesting. And I'm really excited to kind of share the backside of how Jubilee films their videos, a little bit about how it felt to be in the video, and then how they actually filmed it. Like, was it real? Is it faked or anything? And I really want to kind of share my experiences because this is the second Jubilee video I've been in, and I'm hopefully going to go into a couple more soon. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so for this episode that we did, this was rating people from richest to poorest, and this one was really interesting. So let's get started.
COVID hit on March 16th. That's when I transitioned to do full-time social media.
That's quite the background.
Just means a lot of debt. That's $382,000 in student.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so people are asking me, they were like right off the bat, people were saying, why are you wearing socks and everyone else is wearing shoes? First off, everyone else is wearing socks too, but they have white socks, so it looks like shoes. And that's because it's a white set and they don't want like footprints everywhere because then it won't stay white. And so everyone like called me out and they're like, why does this guy not have shoes on? So answer number one there. Okay, so another thing, they said ranking wealth, and when we applied, they had it labeled as, and most people who would see this because it sent out a mass email to everyone if they wanted to be in the show, which was, what is your net worth? So I was like, okay, great. We went there, and I had submitted my number and everything, whatever, and then they changed it and said, hey, by the way, we're going to be doing what's in your bank account. And I was like, well, those are completely separate things. They were like, yeah, we're going to be doing in your bank account. I was trying to like argue with them a little bit. I was like, I really think we should do like net worth because what's in your bank account, someone could have $2,000 in their bank account but have $25 million of property. Then they just reinvest the money, whatever it might be. And so they're like, no, we're just going to do bank accounts. So we had to readjust our numbers. And half of us readjusted our numbers. And then the other half were like, no, our numbers are still the same, which I should have used as evidence as to be like, okay, maybe they're on the, I guess, poorer side because they're literally like not accounting for any assets. But at that point, I didn't really think about it. And I was just like, oh yeah, I need to adjust my numbers. So I fixed my number, which drastically dropped. And so did like one or two of the other people too. And then we're like, okay, great. And then we went into the video. And so this is basically purely what is cash in your bank account.
My name's Scott. I'm 30 years old and I work for a
shoes.
utility company.
I'm Elena. I am 28 years old and I'm a doctoral student in the occupational therapy program at USC.
I'm Hillary. I'm 22 and I am a nanny.
I'm Jenny. I run a design agency and I'm 29 years old.
I'm Dominic Andre. I'm 28 years old and I'm a content creator.
I heard content creator. I think I made another assumption that like, he's doing it for fun.
Okay, one of these people has millions in the bank and I just don't know who it is.
How do you guys like to spend?
Okay. So this is important. This is why when I went there, my assumption going into this was, this is Los Angeles. There's gotta easily be people who watch this video that are worth like $30 million, $40 million. So my assumption going into this is one of these people right here, right? One of these people has millions, and I'm talking like multi-millions in the bank. And so that was my personal thought when I went in there, and I was like looking around and I was like, okay, one of these people definitely has just millions. So let's continue.
Time.
Roller skating, just hanging out with friends.
I like building things. I've had like animals, like reptiles and things in the past. I build cages, helping my friends redo their whole deck. Like, it's what I do for fun.
What about you? I honestly just hang out with my friends and like I moved to LA in May. I've spent money on like Universal, like tickets and stuff like that.
Okay, so when I went into this, I had never done this style of a Jubilee episode. Normally they prompt us questions and then we all just talk for a while. For this one, they did it a little bit differently. They gave us the question and we one by one answered it. Obviously they wanted to make it even, right? If I potentially skipped a question, that could give me an advantage over other people. So they wanted to basically say, here's a question, one by one answer it. So a lot of people were commenting in the comments of the main video, like, oh, these people are showing off, or oh, they sound bougie, or vice versa. And in reality, like, no one randomly talked about anything. We were all prompted to answer a question and we one by one did that. So yeah.
I don't really do that much crazy stuff or anything. I haven't traveled in 15 years.
Anytime I have free time, like I'll pick up a plane ticket, go somewhere. As soon as I turned 17, it was just like one travel after another. It's just like,
Okay, when she said when I turned 17, I just started traveling the world, my immediate assumption was she has a rich family. Now, that doesn't say that she couldn't have made her own money or anything, but at 17, being like, oh, I just picked up a plane ticket and I just started traveling the world, you've got to have money. Like, I get you can be in hostels, but at 17, are you really like going to hostels at 17 years old? You're probably either staying with family, which means you've just got family everywhere, which is unlikely, or you've got money and potentially I assume that the parents went with her. So that was my assumption when she said that.
like that's
so
like
weird.
literally my number one passion.
I genuinely just like thought that she had money. Like this girl's like well off just by like her vibes.
Based on like what you're wearing doesn't necessarily tell you how much someone's worth. Even like what I'm wearing, this is probably put together for like less than $100.
So I started to do a bachelor's in philosophy and political science, and then after that I transferred to do a master's in international relations with a focus on Middle Eastern conflict. And then I worked as a mental health therapist trainee. Basically, we have to do like 3,000 hours almost free. And then COVID hit on March 16th. That's when I transitioned to do full-time social media. And then I started to try and just do that focus as my full career.
That's quite the background.
This means a lot of debt. That's $382,000 in student.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So I've been doing like nannying and babysitting off and on for like 5 years maybe. And then I spontaneously moved here in May. My new job is a production/personal assistant for a celebrity makeup artist. So I just accepted a new job, but I'm still working my nanny jobs.
I just finished my master's degree, got that diploma in the mail. I was so happy. And now I'm in the doctoral program.
So one thing that I noticed a lot of people reacting to this is they're like, oh my God, she has her master's and she's doing her PhD. She must be making a lot of money. I also have two. It doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with how much money you make. In fact, it is known that if you get your PhD, you're less likely to make money compared to masters, because usually people who get their masters are doing it for financial reasons, right? Like, so if you go get your MBA, you're doing it to get a better pay. If you're doing a master's in like education, it's so when you're a teacher, you get better pay. People who do PhDs are looking to do research, and anyone who does research is typically getting paid by grants, which means they're not getting paid much at all. And the same goes for therapy. So when I was applying to be like a mental health therapist, I was like, okay, well, like, should I get my PhD and be called doctor? And I spoke to some people and they were like, to be honest, you know, let's just say I would charge $250 an hour to speak to me. Just because I have my PhD, I'm not going to charge $800 an hour. And to be fair, a master's degree, you know, the therapist can charge just as much as a doctor of clinical psychology, because it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, they might be a little bit more educated, but realistically, while they're going and studying for a couple more years, I'm working in the field getting just as good at that job. And so the only reason that you would ever do your PhD is strictly because of research. Like, you're like interested in the research, you're interested in like the science and publishing your own papers. That's fine, right? You want to, maybe you give some talks and whatever, but in terms of making money, you just get your master's to increase that pay in whatever job you're doing. So when she said, I'm going to do my PhD, unless she's a medical doctor, there is no reason for that, right? You're not going to make much money, which means that she's not really doing it for the money, which means she doesn't probably have money.
So it's a clinical doctorate, just one more year. Thankfully, what kept me afloat was I got a pretty good scholarship from USC, and then I'm in the military.
And then she says, thankfully, what kept me afloat. So she's literally saying, I don't have money, so thankfully I got a scholarship to help.
Part-time, so that's another source.
And then she says how she's in the reserves. Now, anyone who goes in the reserves, it's going into the reserves is like saying, like, I want to serve my country, but only if they really need me. And what I'm going to do is use that. It's really good. It's smart. Is I'm going to go to the reserves. My best friend did this. And, you know, he went to the reserves. But when you come out, they give you all these bonuses. They give you all this help and support. And so for people who are growing up financially, you know, unstable, as shitty as it is to say go to the military, which I don't like, but at the current option, if you needed to, you could go and they can help pay for your college. And you basically you have to go on like the weekends to do PT, which is like the physical training. And then you work a little bit here and there in the reserves, but it's very minimal. You can basically operate a normal life. My best friend was actually working to be like a firefighter before he passed away. But you could work a completely normal job being in the reserves, and they help pay for all those things. So my assumption when she said that is she doesn't have any money because she's worked on the scholarship and went to the reserves. So yeah.
Of income.
So I went to specifically a school for exotic animal training and management.
No wonder why you're building cages for animals. Build one for mine, I have a snake.
There you go. I work for a utility company. I'm a meter reader. With the animal field, they're not very solid jobs. I was even in the entertainment industry with animals for a while, and it's very much a feast or famine. I enjoy the stability of a government job.
I did my dual master's degree in international business, and I did that at Purdue and a business school in France. And then started my company about almost 5.5 years ago.
Wait, what company is it? Sorry.
Software design.
Wow.
And then she owns
She
a
had
software
a successful
design.
business for over 5 years. She went to school in France. I thought that she had quite a good setup for herself. Dominic, you mentioned you have a lot of debt, so maybe you don't have a lot of money, so I'm gonna go with you as number 1. 5, you are still in school. I think with the scholarship, they probably give you enough money to get by, but not a whole lot, so you're gonna be number 4. Hillary, number 3. I'm gonna put myself, Scott, at number 2, and then Jenny, I'm gonna put you at number 1.
I'm going to say Dominic 5 as well. Number 4, I'm going to put myself. Number 3, I would say Scott. And then number 2, I would say Hillary. Things are changing, but you kind of sound a little bit well connected with like working with one family maybe, and then getting to work with a celebrity artist, but I'm just assuming. And then 1, I'm gonna put Jenny because you own a company, and then you talked about just being able to like on your free time buy a plane ticket and fly.
I'm gonna go with myself for 5, Dominic for 4, Scott, number 3, number 2, Elena, and then number 1, I'm gonna go with Jenny.
I like the number 1 spot. I am gonna start with Hillary for 5, just because you were nannying and just switched jobs. 4, I'm gonna say Elena. 3, I'll say Scott. And I think you're kind of like the wild card, yeah. And then, and I guess I'll put myself in number 1. I actually initially thought Dominic would be the first place, just because I know that content creators, if you're big, like you can make a lot of money.
I'm gonna say number 5.
Okay, so here's my logic for this. The girl said that she works as an assistant. Some people were arguing like, oh, assistants make a lot of money. No. Because even if they did, it's Los Angeles. This shit costs so much money to even live here. So if you're talking about money in the bank, there ain't no money in the bank because it's Los Angeles, right? Even if she works really hard, which I'm sure she does, it's Los Angeles. There's no money. It's so expensive to live here. So yeah. Plus, she says like a celebrity artist, and then I end up finding out who it was later. But in general, like creators aren't going to pay people a lot. Makeup artists aren't going to pay assistants a lot.
5, you said you were in the military? And are you doing reserves? With all that schooling, you probably went to do reserves, so they paid for your school, which means you probably didn't have as much money. So I'd put you number 5 and then number 4. You have a good government job. So I'm gonna say number 3. And then I'll put you at number 1 and then me at number 2.
Okay, so before I explain, I didn't want to feel like a douche by being like, I'm number 1. 2, there's a good chance, like I said in the beginning, that, and I said this here, I think, is that there's literally, this is Los Angeles. Like you could grab a handful of people and a couple of them are going to be millionaires. So my assumption was like, one of these people is probably worth like $5 million or $10 million. And I just don't know. And so I was also like, okay, I potentially might be number 1, but I don't want to look like an idiot. And then 2, again, the money that I have isn't a lot compared to some of the people in Los Angeles. So my assumption was they've got to have more than me.
In my head, I was like, well, I don't want to be first, especially if I'm wrong, because I know that I was like, that it's not going to be like absurd if she had just like millions in the bank.
Okay, so this is our average ranking, and then again in the comments, people were like, how did Dominic get second? That doesn't make sense. He was rated last like every time. It's because Jenny put me in number 2, and all the other people never got a high ranking, so they were always constantly down in the middle. But I do think, yeah, I don't know, because I rated myself, remember, number 2, and Jenny rated me number 2. So if you take those two, no one else got number 2 twice. And so I think that's what threw it off. So I think I got like ahead of everyone else. So I didn't run the math on it, but that's why everyone was freaking out. They're like, this doesn't make sense. You should be like 3rd or 4th on the average ranking.
In number 5, we have Elena with $2,000.
Okay, I was surprised by this because I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about like how much people could potentially have in their bank account. So I wasn't thinking like, okay, some of these people in here might have like $500. I was more just thinking about putting them in order than I was exactly how much they might have. And I should have thought that through because it could have helped me. At this point, by the way, for people who don't know the back end of how Jubilee does this, we really don't know. We're all surprised here. In the beginning, we were driving up and people were able to see each other in each other's cars. So I specifically took like my car because I don't have that nice of a car. And I always try to drive my girlfriend's because hers is really nice. So I was like, okay, I'm going to drive my car because I don't want someone to see it and be like, oh, you're rich, because that's not true. And then I was like, okay, also, when I pulled up, I started to see some people pull up, and I immediately got out of my car and ran because like, I don't want to see. And that could definitely have thrown us off a little bit. But the only person that I did see was, I think, the girl all the way to the left, the blonde girl. I did see what car she was in. I don't even remember now what it was, but I remember it wasn't that nice of a car. Like, it was a normal car. So I was like, okay, either they've got a lot of money and they just don't care to spend it, or they just don't have that much money. And that's what kind of gave me a little bit of an edge. But obviously she said she was an assistant. So that kind of, made it a little bit easier.
My parents had me when they were really young. My mom was 16 and my dad was 18, and so they did not save up for me to be able to go to schools. I had to grind really hard so that I could earn scholarships, and even to this day, like, the scholarships help, but I'm still going into like 6 figures in debt.
In spot number 4, we have Hillary with $7,000 in the bank. In spot number 3, we have Scott with $215,000.
So this wasn't that surprising because government jobs, Hassan was actually arguing about this, Hassan Piker, whatever his name is. He was arguing about this because he was like, oh, they make hundreds of thousands. They don't. That's not true. But they can if they're there for a long, long time. But he actually told us like a little bit about how he got some of his money, which it wasn't all from work. But they do get paid really well because it's consistent is the most important thing, and benefits. But I don't remember him telling us his exact salary, but I don't think it's well above 100,000. I think it's just like a good paying job that's very consistent. But he saves, and that's crazy because $215,000 is a lot of money, like a lot, to be working like a regular government job and they have $200K in the bank. And I don't remember if he says he had a house. I think that we talked a little bit after. I think he said he either just sold his house or he does have a house. But like, imagine he has $200K in the bank and he owns a house. That's crazy. So that one was a little bit surprising for me. I was like, wow, that's a big jump from $7K to $200K. But the other thing is, we were originally going to do net worth. So I really wanted to know what the difference is. Like, I wonder what everyone's net worth is, because I'm sure it didn't make a drastic jump like that. I wonder if everyone's net worth kind of gradually went up. Because that was really interesting to see when we switched, because he switched his amount when they asked us, does anyone want to update their amount now that we're not doing net worth, but we're doing what's in your bank? He switched it, Jenny switched it, and I switched it. So yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of savings.
To me, $2,000 is a good amount. Like, I feel
Girl
good.
save, girl
And then I hear that and I'm like, oh shoot, like, we poor.
I know.
In spot number 2, we have Jenny with approximately...
Oh shit!
So I put my hand up because I was like, just put your hand up. It's probably you. And I was like pretty sure it was me at this point, because when they said 200,000, I was like, okay, that's a huge jump. So if I'm a huge jump from that guy, the guy in the red, if I'm a huge jump from him, then Jenny's probably a huge jump from me, which turns out she was a huge jump from him, but I saw it a little bit more. I do read chat. I'm just doing this for YouTube.
Nice.
And in spot number 1, we have Dominic with $600,000 in the bank.
All right.
Dominic pulled us.
Dinner's on Dominic.
All right. I'll let this finish, so I'll explain.
This year, I made all my money, starting in January. Snapchat had like a thing where they're like, okay, top videos get paid a lot, and I won $1 million last month, or 3 months ago. My latest video I just did was like, I took a fake ID of The Rock.
I saw that on TikTok.
I didn't see it.
Dominic threw me off a whole lot. I'm not super into social media. I stopped at Facebook. So when he said he was
I just realized I gotta move my video. They put Scott, not super into social media. I didn't see that.
social whatever, I didn't mean much to me. That's why I put him at the bottom.
It could be family money, it can be lottery ticket, whatever it is. Like you never know.
Okay, so I wanted to address a couple things. One, they changed it on us and said, oh, it's what's in your bank. And I'm going to be fully honest here. I was like, okay, and I asked them, I was like, that's a different amount. When I applied, I had put in a completely different amount for my net worth because my net worth's different. I own a house that's paid off. I own land that's paid off. So it's way different. And I was like, to be honest, I've got like $500 in my bank account at the time. So I was like, this video is about to be really stupid. And I was like, well, like, are you asking like how much we have in our bank? He's like, how much can you spend right now if you needed to? And then I was like, okay, what's nice about this is I have they're called HELOCs open on my property where I can like go in and pull it. It's a checking account that I can go pull like hundreds of thousands out and spend it instantaneously. I use it as my checking account. So I was like, I guess like I'll put that, but they really definitely confused us because I was like, I don't really have much money in my bank account because I don't keep money in my bank account. I pay off my house and then I use the cash if I need to. So I put 600,000 at the time because my thought was like, okay, if there's someone at a couple million, I'll just put like 600K. That's really actually how much I have that's available to spend at the moment. But it was definitely a lot different than like net worth. Also, everyone was commenting that like, oh my God, this guy got lucky. He won the lottery. He basically posted one Snapchat video and he won $1 million. That's not true at all. I posted like 800 to 1,000, if not more, to be honest. And I filmed about 5,000. Not trying to make an argument here that it was hard, because to be honest, it wasn't. But I was making good money the previous year before. I was making like a couple $100,000 a year the year before. But when I said I made my own money, they kind of cut the video. I said this year I made all my money because I mean like that money I spent it. I was an idiot. I spent it all. I was moving around doing a bunch of stuff. And so I started the year with like $0 in my bank account. And then on December, before the year started, I got a call from Snapchat saying that I won a couple $100,000 for that week.
Second week of Spotlight, you earned, and this is a rounded number, so it could shift a little bit, but you earned $289,000. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
So funny because Dominic was messaging me and he was like, I'm just praying it's over 100K. And like, that's amazing. That's way over.
It's amazing. It's fantastic. Now, the third week, I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but you will find out probably a week from today. For the third week of your Spotlight post, you have earned around $47,900. So again, another massive amount.
And then I ended up consistently winning a couple $100,000 a week for weeks to come. And then from there, I started getting a bunch of brand deals. I was already doing this, but because I was only making like $200,000 a year, which is a lot, but for LA, it was expensive with the mistakes that I made. With all the money that I made from Snapchat, I was able to capitalize and invest that money instantly. So I actually bought a house with that money right away. I actually had to borrow money from my brother because Snapchat didn't pay me for a couple months. So I had to borrow money from my brother and my family, bought the house. Then I got paid from Snapchat, paid everyone back. And then from there, I made a bunch of, money after that. So the money that I have in my bank and availability was nothing to do with Snapchat. I was just trying to express that like, I'm not some hardworking guy that's been doing this for 10 years and I'm rich. It was just like, to be honest, I got kind of lucky. I won all my money this year. And I use the word won. They say we earned it. Snapchat says we earned it. I just say we won because, again, we shouldn't get paid that much money for that little work. I get it. 5,000 videos is a lot, but $1 million, relax. So that's why I said that. But yeah, I've made a lot of money since then. And the money in the bank, people were arguing like, you have $300,000 in debt, but you made $1 million, so you only have 600,000, and people were getting confused. To be clear, I still have student loan debt that I pay monthly because I don't want to just burn that money in a loan when I can invest that into property, make money consistently, and then pay all that back. So that's a little bit of why I was not paying that loan, as well as the money that's in my account has nothing to do with the Snapchat money. Like I said, that money was spent long ago, months ago, and I bought this house behind me. So I really appreciate everyone for watching. If you're interested and you have questions about social media, trust me, get into it. There's a lot of money, and it doesn't take that much time, especially with apps like TikTok. So definitely try it out. That's what it was like to be in a Jubilee video. If you guys have any more questions, you can comment down below, and I'll be posting some more React videos soon.